So in the Championship, we've had another action-packed weekend, and in today's video, we are here to round up all the action. This video will also be split into two parts, as we do have some midweek fixtures going on this week. So in the second half of the video, we're also going to be going ahead and predicting what we think will happen in midweek. So if you do go on to enjoy the video, make sure you leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you do subscribe for some regular Championship content. And before we get into talking about any of the individual games, I will include your guys' comments on screen now. So if any of you guys did successfully manage to get any of your score predictions correct this weekend, then I will include your comment on screen now. And fair play to everyone who did get one right. There were some pretty unpredictable scorelines this weekend, so it was a pretty hard one to go ahead and predict. So fair play to everyone who did get one right. But apart from that, guys, let's go ahead and hop in to some of these games. So starting out with Friday night's game between Birmingham and West Brom. Quite an entertaining game actually, finishing 1-1 in the end, where Jota was one of the main talking points from this game. He went ahead and opened the scoring after 26 minutes after some lacklustre defending from West Brom. There seemed to be a bit of a mixed up between Sam Johnson and his defence, and Jota managed to go ahead and poke them 1-0 in front. After that, Birmingham really should have gone to maybe even wrap up the game after that. They of course missed the penalty. Jota stepped up to take it, and it was a comfortable save for Sam Johnson in the end. Definitely not the best penalty, and they created another flurry of chances. You know, they had 13 shots in this game, only 4 of them on target. Jutkiewicz had a fantastic chance from close range, which he skied over the bar. I think that the penalty miss from Birmingham actually woke up this West Brom side, and it was Matty Phillips who went ahead and equalised for them. Some pretty slack defending from Birmingham. He was able to weave in and out of a couple of Birmingham players. They actually won the ball back, then Matty Phillips won it back, and then he was able to beat Lee Camp quite easily at his near post to go ahead and send it 1-1 into the break. And then going into the second half, both sides had chances in that one to go on and win it, but looking over a full 90 minutes, Birmingham probably should have buried this game earlier on, you know. It's sort of a similar story to a lot of Birmingham games so far this season. They played well, but just are missing that main striker to go ahead and really kill off a game. So finishing 1-1 in the end, quite a frustrating one. Then we saw QPR claim a 2-1 away victory at Bolton Wanderers, and the way that Bolton were set up for this game, from minute one, it was quite a negative approach really. I was expecting, with the way that they've started the season and some of the football they played going forward so far, I really thought they'd go ahead and take the game to QPR, especially with QPR so far in general struggling this season, but that wasn't really the case. It was QPR who was taking the game to Bolton. Bolton were quite happy to sit off, and QPR deservedly took the lead in the first half. After some nice work from Naki Wells, he pulled the ball back and Luke Freeman managed to slot in for making it 1-0. After that intensity carried on into the second half for QPR. It was Eze who managed to go ahead and make it 2-0 after Luke Freeman turned the provider for that one. Bolton, it sort of takes them to go 2-0 down in the game for them to actually go on and attack, and that can be so frustrating as a fan, but it was Josh McGuinness who got them back into the game from a free kick. And maybe the keeper could have done a little bit better than that, but after that, you know, you're always asking a lot when you're coming back from 2 goals down at home, and in the end, QPR, it was a deserved victory for them. We then saw Brentford beat Wigan by 2-0 in what was a very convincing performance from the home side. Neal Maupay once again popping up with 2 goals for Brentford on his return after a 3-game suspension, and what a game he had in this one. From minute one, Brentford were showing their intensity, looking to get forward and looking to get right at Wigan. It was Sawyers and Maupay who had 2 very early chances for Brentford and were unlucky not to take the lead in the first 10 minutes really. Wigan sort of settled into the game, but after 24 minutes it was Neal Maupay who managed to make it 1-0 after some nice passing moves from Brentford. The main talking point from this game was probably the red card for Sam Morsey of Wigan Athletic. When I watched it in real time, it sort of looked to be, you know, sort of a 50-50 clash of heads, but when you watch it slowed down, you can see why the referee has given a red card for that, and ultimately going down to 10 men away at Brentford is never a good idea, you know. With the way they like to keep hold of possession and pass around teams, playing against that with 10 men is always going to be an absolute nightmare, and it was Neal Maupay who managed to go ahead and double Brentford's lead shortly after that red card for Wigan, and then that wrapped up the game for them in the end. So Wigan did have chances going forward. Daniel Bentley had to pull out a couple of saves, so did Walton, the Wigan keeper. It could easily have been more than 2-0 for Brentford in the end, but a very convincing performance, and Brentford are now second in the Championship. Then we saw Bristol City continue their impressive run of form with a 1-0 home victory over Sheffield United. Two sides coming into this one, both on a fantastic run at the moment in the Championship, and it was Bristol City who came out of this one on top. In the first half, I actually thought that Sheffield United probably edged it actually, with some of the chances they were creating. Bristol City weren't completely at it in that first half, but they were managing to keep Sheffield United at bay. David McGoldrick had some fantastic chances for United, and if he put one of them away, you know, it would have been a different game going into the second half. But into the second half, Bristol City stepped up the intensity, weren't allowing a lot of time on the ball for the Sheffield United midfielders. That resulted in them going long for a lot of the game, and nothing was really sticking for their strikers. And then later on, it was Marley Watkins who managed to head them 1-0 in front, and that was the only goal of the game in the end for a fantastic home victory for Bristol City. So the question I asked you guys is, what do you make of Bristol City? Do you think they are contenders for the top 6 this season? From what they're showing at the moment, they're looking like a real force this season. Then we saw Hull beat Ipswich by 2-0, and Ipswich now sat bottom of the Championship without a win so far this season. Ipswich fans, I'll be very interested to hear from you guys, but in this game they sort of shot themselves in their own foot really. Defensively, I think they were a bit all over the place for this one. The opening goal from Jared Bowen coming just 3 minutes into this game. It was quite a basic through ball from Fraser Campbell from the right hand side. Jared Bowen made an incurving run and then he managed to slot in past the keeper. They actually had a chance to clear it off the line, but the defender was just off balance a bit, and then that was 1-0 after just 3 minutes, and that goal seemed to take the confidence out of Ipswich really. Going forward, they weren't brilliant. The game did get bogged down in midfield for quite a lot of the game for this one, but Hull was certainly creating the better chances, and it could have even been more than 2-0 in the end. Ipswich did have a couple of chances. Jordan Graham was looking to create things, but nothing was really sticking for their strikers, and then of course in the end it was Jackson Irvine who wrapped it up to go ahead and finish as 2-0 to Hull. So quite disappointing from Ipswich once again, who aren't looking brilliant so far. Then we saw Millwall going up against Leeds, and this one finished as a 1-1 draw in the end. A very entertaining one actually. Both sides had chances in the first half, but you could sort of tell that Leeds were missing, you know, 1 or 2 of their real stars so far this season. It was Tyler Roberts who was leading the line for them, only 19 years old, and I thought that overall he did quite well. You know, his movement off the ball was quite good. You could tell that he was lacking that match sharpness. He had a couple of chances that maybe he could have done better with, but apart from that, he was working hard off the ball, it seemed. Both keepers had to be forced into a couple of saves in the first half, but it was Millwall who broke the deadlock thanks to Jed Wallace in the 55th minute going into the second half. And then when Leeds equalised in the 89th minute, quite a lot of controversy around that. The ball went into the Millwall dugout just before Leeds scored, and Millwall were obviously trying to run down the clock as it was only 2 minutes to go in the game. They didn't give the ball back to Leeds as soon as they should have really. A bit of a tussle broke out in the dugout, and then shortly after that Leeds managed to equalise thanks to Jack Harrison. A very nice effort from just outside the box, managed to go past Ben Amos, and in the end it did finish as a 1-1 draw. So Leeds have got some decent fixtures coming up next, and I think that if they can get through this month with the injuries they've currently got, I think Leeds will be looking good for this season. Then we saw Norwich claim a fantastic 1-0 home victory over Middlesbrough. So far this season, Middlesbrough defensively had looked absolutely indestructible apart from the Millwall game and the opening day of the season, but Norwich managed to find their way through thanks to Timu Pukki. It was Emi Buendia who found him inside the box, sort of a poke towards goal. I think he got a bit of a deflection off Ryan Shotton, which of course deceived the goalkeeper Randolph, and managed to make it 1-0 to Norwich City. With Middlesbrough going forward in this one, they weren't looking brilliant. They only had 2 shots on target in the whole match. Johnny Howson did have a good chance which Tim Krul managed to save, but apart from that they didn't really offer a lot going forward considering how well they have done so far this season. But Norwich were absolutely fantastic. Emi Buendia is a player who really intrigues me, and I'd like to see more of him for Norwich this season. Then one next game we saw Reading beat Preston by 3-2, and oh my word, this was such a frustrating game. Defensively for this game, Preston were absolutely all over the place. Each of the 3 goals were very avoidable in my opinion from what Preston considered. The first one, there was possibly a foul on Gallagher in the build-up, but even so, Gallagher completely stopped to go and moan at the referee. That sort of caught us off guard, and then Baldock managed to go ahead and slot in past Declan Rudd to make it 1-0. After that, Preston did have a response. You know, we got back into the game. It was Daniel Johnson with a deflected shot. Even in the first half before Reading took the lead, we weren't looking too bad. You know, Tom Barkhuizen had 2 or 3 chances. He hit the post with one of them, and going forward, you know, it wasn't a problem with us creating chances. It was just defensively, we were absolutely all over the place. Into the second half, Reading then managed to restore their lead thanks to Ilori after some poor defending once again from Preston. A clear ball going across the box, and Ilori managed to go ahead and smash it in to make it 2-1 to Reading. Preston once again showed a response to that though. Callum Robinson making it 2-2. Some really nice work from Josh Hill down the left hand side. Chops outwards, managed to go ahead and slam the ball towards goal, and Robinson just gets a poke on it to make it 2-2. After that, Preston were going for the win, but one thing that I must say is I have no idea what formation we were playing in the second half. There was absolutely no structure to our play whatsoever. We took Gallagher off for Nemetcha, and we brought Josh Harrop on for Darnell Fisher, and in the second half, towards the last like 20 or so minutes, it looked like Neil just threw on some attacking players and hoped that it would work. There was no system, no thinking involved in that in the second half, and then really managed to catch us out on the counter-attack to make it 3-2 in the end. So a really frustrating day for Preston, because Reading didn't even need to be that good to go and beat us in the end, but defensively we really need to sharpen up now. And then we saw Rotherham beat Derby by 1-0 in what was quite a dramatic game in the end actually. Derby for this one, I thought they were far off the pace really. They couldn't really get in behind this Rotherham defence, and a lot of their chances were coming from open play from quite far out. Tom Huddleston had a decent attempt, but apart from that and a couple of others, they weren't really that threatening going forward, especially from what we've come to expect from Derby so far this season. Going into the second half, that's when things slowly started to really unravel for Derby. After 58 minutes, Tom Lawrence was shown a red card after quite a bad tackle, and then after 63 minutes, they found themselves 1-0 down thanks to Ryan Manning, who did convert a penalty. Quite a soft penalty. I think it was the linesman who actually gave it, not the referee, but I can see why he did give it. And in the end, after that, Derby was sort sort of on the back foot, playing with 10 men and a goal behind. They couldn't really salvage anything from this game. Bizarrely, if anything else, Frank Lampard was also sent off for this game after he came out of his technical area to go ahead and I think give his team instructions for a free kick. The referee went straight to his card and showed him a red card, and quite funny in the end, but even so, Rotherham deserved this victory. Derby weren't brilliant in this one. We had quite an entertaining game at Hillsborough as it finished 2-2 between Sheffield Wednesday and Stoke City. Stoke were really fast to start this game, with Billy popping up with 2 goals early on, and I could sort of see quite a few similarities between these two sides. Both going forward had some really strong players in this game. Ince, I thought, was looking good for Stokeophobia as well. Woods and Etebo in midfield were also looking good, and Sheffield Wednesday had some similarly good players going forward, but defensively for both teams, they were both looking quite slack for this one. I thought that Sheffield Wednesday would have been disappointed to be 2 goals down after just 20 minutes in this game. Matthias did manage to get them back into the game though after 24 minutes. That gave them a bit of a lift going into the second half, and then in the 82nd minute, Barry Bannon popped up with a fantastic free kick to go on and make it 2-2. I think so far this season Stoke have been, you know, quite a flop in the Championship, but there are quite a few positives to go on and take out of this, and things that they can go on to build on, especially with how they play going forward. But they're not going to get anywhere if they are going to defend like that all season, and defence is somewhere which Stoke really need to hard down on and go and sort out this season, because if they carry on conceding sloppy goals like they are at the moment, they're not going to get anywhere this season. Then we saw Swansea draw 0-0 with Nottingham Forest. After how Forest have been playing in the last few weeks, and especially their performance against Brentford, it was important that the fans saw a bit of a reaction from the players in this game, and overall I think they got that really. They sometimes, you know, lacking in quality in the final third, but I thought that a lot of their play through the midfield and their intensity in winning the ball back was actually quite good for Nottingham Forest, and they've set the foundations for something to go on and build on now this season. Swansea did craft out a couple of opportunities in this game, but overall not really a vintage performance from them. I thought I have seen them play better so far this season, and they'll probably take in a goalless draw in the end with the way that the flow of the whole game went. Nottingham Forest wasteful with a couple of opportunities. They did craft out 16 of them in this game, but only 4 of them on target in the end, so obviously they need to brush up on that, but there are more positives to take from this one for Forest in my opinion. And then finally we saw Blackburn draw 1-1 with Aston Villa in what was quite an entertaining game in the end actually. You still get the impression watching Aston Villa that there's no real philosophy with these players, you know. It's a very good team they've got there, but under Steve Bruce at the moment, they just really lack cohesion to go on and play forward. In the end, it was a 93rd minute equaliser, which did manage to dig them out of this one a little bit, but Blackburn should have gone to take the lead earlier in this game. It was Bradley Dack with the goal, but that was ruled out for offside. The wrong decision in the end. He was actually stood level with the player, and Blackburn should have taken the lead earlier on, but even so, it was Bradley Dack who managed to open the scoring after 76 minutes. What a finish it was from him. It was Danny Graham with the shot, and then a beautiful flick from Bradley Dack into the far corner to go on and make it 1-0 to Blackburn, and at that point, Blackburn were looking good. Aston Villa also had their chance in this one. They should have had a penalty in it as well. John McGinn going down inside the box. The referee waved that away though for some reason. Tammy Abraham also was looking lively for Aston Villa. I think that when Kodji was introduced, those two play off each other quite well. I think that when Tammy Abraham does get that match sharpness and gets to know this Aston Villa side better, he will be a real asset for them this season. But it took until the 93rd minute where Conor Hourihane managed to go ahead and level for Aston Villa with a fantastic free kick bending around the wall. It was absolutely superb, and in the end it did manage to finish as a 1-1 draw. So quite an interesting one. I'd be interested to get some Villa fans' perspective of what you made of the game. But guys, they were all the games that did take place over this weekend, so make sure you do get a comment in the comments down below as to what did you make of your team's performance. In terms of my result of the weekend, I'm actually going to go ahead and give it to Reading for beating Preston by 3-2. It'll be a result which could actually kickstart their season in my opinion. It's their first win of the season, and scoring 3 goals away from home and not letting their heads drop when they actually did concede to us, I think that will serve them well for the rest of this season. So my result of the weekend is going to go to Reading. Then for my goal of the weekend, there are quite a few contenders for this one, but I'm going to go ahead and give it to Conor Hourihane for his fantastic free kick against Blackburn Rovers. Quite a few contenders for that one, but I'm going to give it to Hourihane, a brilliant free kick. And so just before we do wrap up this video, we have quite a few score predictions to go over with the games which are taking place in midweek in the Championship. So I'll also leave these in the description down below so you guys can easily go ahead and make your predictions. So first up, we got Aston Villa going up against Rotherham. I'm going to fancy Villa to get back to winning ways in this one with a slim 2-1 home victory. I don't think it'll be easy for them though. Derby going up against Blackburn, I'll say that one will finish as a 1-1 draw. Ipswich going up against Brentford. Ipswich at this point just need points from anywhere, but at home to Brentford, I can't see much coming from that. So I'll go for a 2-1 away victory for Brentford. Leeds going up against Preston. I'm not confident at the moment with the way that we're defending and with the intensity that Leeds like to play with on the front foot. I'm going to go for a 3-1 home victory for Leeds in that game. Wigan against Hull, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Stoke City going up against Swansea is quite an interesting game, and I'm actually going to fancy Stoke for a slim 2-1 home victory in that game. We then got West Brom going up against Bristol City. I'm going to fancy that for a 2-2 draw. Middlesbrough need to get back to winning ways in midweek. They're going up against Bolton. I'll fancy them for a slim 1-0 home victory. I don't see all too much being in that game. Forest going to go up against Sheffield Wednesday. I was quite impressed by Forest this week. They just need to sharpen up their finishing, and so I'll go for a 2-1 Forest home victory. QPR going up against Millwall. I'll fancy that to finish as a 1-1 draw. Sheffield United against Birmingham, another really tough one to predict. Birmingham have been quite good so far this season. They've just not been very clinical in front of goal, so for that reason, I'll go for a 2-1 home victory for Sheffield United. Then as our final game, we got Reading going up against Norwich, and I'm going to fancy that one to finish level as a 1-1 draw. So there are all the games which are taking place in midweek. So like I did say, make sure you do get your score predictions in the comments down below. But that, guys, will now wrap it up for this video. So if you did go in to enjoy, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you do subscribe for some regular championship content. But apart from that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.